Welcome back to my channel. Today, we will be teaching you simple tricks you can use to outsmart the police. You're sitting in your car, engine off, scrolling your phone, when a patrol car pulls up behind you, lights on. An officer walks up fast. Step out of the vehicle. You hesitate. Is there a problem, officer? I said, step out. And do you mind if I take a quick look inside your car? Your heart starts racing. You didn't do anything wrong, but now you're on the spot. Do you explain yourself? Do you say yes? Do you argue? Or do you know the exact words that protect you? Because what you say in the next 10 seconds can completely change what happens next. And that's what we're breaking down today. One sentence can open the door to a search. One nervous answer can create suspicion. One careless yes can waive your rights without you realizing it. This is not about being difficult, it's about being precise. Because officers are trained to gather information. That's their job. But your job is to protect yourself legally. In this video, you're going to learn what the officer is really trying to do, what the law may require from you, what mistakes to avoid, and most importantly, the exact words you can use to stay protected without escalating the situation. Let's break it down. Every video here could save you from a serious mistake one day. Subscribe now so you don't miss what could protect you. Then share this video and drop your opinion below. I want to hear what you think. First, understand the biggest mistake people make. They talk too much, too fast, too emotionally. The officer says, "Where are you coming from?" And you launch into a full explanation. You think being cooperative means being open. But here's the problem. Every word you say can be used to build suspicion, even if you're innocent. The officer isn't just listening to your answer, they're analyzing how you say it. Hesitation, tone, inconsistencies. So instead of explaining, you use a controlled response. Officer, I prefer not to answer any questions. That's it. Short, calm, respectful. Why does this work? Because you're not being hostile. You're not refusing to cooperate with lawful commands. You're simply declining to provide information that could be misinterpreted. Now let's go to the second common trap. Consent searches. This is one of the biggest ways people unintentionally give up their rights. The officer says, "You don't mind if I take a quick look, right?" It sounds casual, almost like you'd be suspicious if you said no. But if you say yes, you've just legally allowed them to search your car, your bag, or your belongings. Even if they find something that isn't illegal, it can still create problems. So instead, you say, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Say it clearly, say it calmly. If they ask again, you repeat it. "I do not consent to any searches." Why is this so important? Because now, if they search anyway, it becomes a legal issue. Your refusal preserves your rights. Your yes destroys them. And notice what you didn't do. You didn't argue. You didn't accuse. You didn't escalate. You just set a boundary. Now let's talk about the third moment that confuses people. Detention versus freedom. You need to know whether you're being detained or if you're free to leave, because those are two completely different situations legally. So you ask one simple question. Am I free to go or am I being detained? This question forces clarity. If the officer says you're free to go, then you leave, calmly, no extra conversation. If they say you're being detained, now you know you're not free to leave, but you also know your rights are fully active. Why does this question matter so much? Because many people stay and keep talking when they didn't have to, or they walk away when they shouldn't. This one sentence removes the guesswork. Now let's move to a high-pressure moment. The officer starts giving commands. Turn around, put your hands behind your back. Your instinct might be to resist, verbally or physically, especially if you think it's unfair. But this is where people make a critical mistake. They try to win the argument on the street. That is not where you win. So instead, you comply physically, but you protect yourself verbally. I am not resisting, but I do not consent. That sentence is powerful. You are complying with commands to avoid escalation, but you are clearly stating that you are not agreeing with what's happening. Why does that matter? Because later in court, that distinction can be crucial. Compliance does not equal consent, but if you stay silent, it can be interpreted that way. Now let's talk about the moment things get serious. The officer starts asking more direct questions. Do you have anything illegal on you? Have you been drinking tonight? This is where people panic and try to talk their way out. That usually makes things worse. Instead, you use one of the strongest protections you have. I exercise my right to remain silent. Say it clearly, say it once, and then actually remain silent. Why is this effective? Because it stops the flow of information completely. You are no longer feeding the situation with words that can be twisted or misunderstood. And if questioning continues, you escalate to the next phrase. I want to speak to a lawyer. That's it. Once you say that, questioning is supposed to stop. Now, let's be clear about something important. None of this works if your behavior contradicts your words. If you're saying, I'm not resisting while pulling away, that's a problem. If you're saying, I don't consent, but then casually opening your bag, that's a problem. Your words and actions must match. Now let's go over some critical warnings. Talking too much is the number one issue. Silence feels uncomfortable, but it protects you. Arguing with the officer almost never helps. It escalates tension and can lead to additional charges. Fast movements are dangerous. Even reaching into your pocket without warning can be misinterpreted. Giving consent is often irreversible. Once you say yes, you can't take it back. And trying to win the situation on the roadside is a losing strategy. The place to challenge legality is in court, not on the street. And being rude or aggressive will only make things worse. Calm and controlled always wins. Now let's add some legal clarity. Laws vary depending on where you are and the specific situation. What an officer can do during a traffic stop might be different from a pedestrian encounter. Some jurisdictions require you to identify yourself under certain conditions. Others have different rules about searches and detentions. So understand this as a framework, not absolute legal advice. The goal is not to outsmart the police in a clever way. The goal is to protect your rights while staying safe and composed. Let's bring this all together. You're stopped. The officer approaches. Instead of panicking, you stay calm. You don't overshare. You say, I prefer not to answer any questions. They ask to search. You say, I do not consent to any searches. You clarify your status. Am I free to go or am I being detained? If things escalate, you comply physically but state clearly, I am not resisting, but I do not consent. Then you lock it down. I exercise my right to remain silent. And if needed, I want to speak to a lawyer. That's it. Calm, clear, controlled. No unnecessary words, no unnecessary risks. Because the truth is, you don't outsmart the police by being clever. You protect yourself by being disciplined. And if you want to understand the one phrase that can get you out of a traffic stop faster, or the one mistake that turns a simple stop into a search, you'll want to watch the next video.